So, Mark here from Rock and Load. This evening, I am joined by Luka van de Poel. Luka is one part of Dutch trio DeWolff. The guys in 2024 released their latest album and 10th studio album, Shoals, courtesy of Mascot Records. The guys hit the UK in April, kicking off April 12th in Glasgow for a short run of dates, taking in Glasgow, Manchester, Nottingham, Bristol, Oxford and London. So make sure you check out dewolff.nu for availability of tickets. Well, look, first and foremost, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm happy. I'm happy to be here with you tonight.
It's, like I say, we're both in great form. The weather's great. You are just about to embark on a UK tour. What are you guys doing currently? Are you touring at the moment, or are you rehearsing ready for the tour?
Well, we're kind of in the middle of a European tour, but we're enjoying some time off now because we did a pretty intensive tour through France, Germany, Spain, Italy, the mainland. Well, I recently became a father, so we decided to play as much shows as we can, but also take as much time off as we can, so I can spend some time with my daughter. Currently we're in the middle of a tour, but also enjoying some time off. And in a couple of days we'll be leaving for the UK. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm gonna play 6 shows, I think it's going to be so much fun. Every time we come to the UK, it's the shows are getting a little bit bigger, and the audience is so. How do you say the people are so nice and nice to us, and they really love our music. So yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, you guys have been across to the UK quite a few times over the last year, so I'm sure you're reaping the rewards and the benefits of coming back, and I think really if you don't, you lose out on that. So obviously making sure that you do include the UK just has to pay its benefits over time, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, we it took us a lot of years before we finally took the step to play shows in the UK. I mean, we have played a couple of shows in London. We're already playing for 17 years now. We did a couple of shows in London, but never really a full tour. So yeah, we started doing that like 1.5 years ago, and we made sure that we come back. Every year, but maybe even this will be. We're going to tour in April, and then we're coming back in October, I believe. So yeah, maybe twice a year, and that's even better because it stays fresh in people's minds. And oh yeah, we saw that band a couple of months ago. Let's go again, and people bring friends, and that's really it's working really well for us.
Yeah, and well, tell me that you obviously are touring on the back of the last album, Shoals. Congratulations, a beautiful album. How do you guys sort of feel that album sits against the rest of your catalogue?
For us, it felt kind of like a back to basic album, because the album before, Love Then and In Between, we did that in a studio in France with a lot of friends of us who came along to play horns, to play percussion, piano. We were with 15, 16 people in that studio. So we all also wrote those songs, having that in mind, that there would be horns and percussion and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that album went into a certain direction, which we still really love. I mean, there's a lot of soul in there. There's a lot of like Leon Russell kind of vibes. But for this record, we wanted to go back to the three of us, just drums, guitar, Hammond organ. and a good friend of ours, Levi, he came along to play the bass. But it's a lot more back to basic in some kind of way, you know. And all the vocals you hear on the record, all the backing vocals, is just us. So it feels good to be like it feels good to be a little bit smaller. Again, sorry, I don't know how to say it in correct English.
Yeah. It's a tighter unit.
Yeah, a tighter unit. That's right.
Yeah.
And also knowing the fact that we're going to Fame Studios and Muscle Shoals Sound, you know, you have that in mind, and then you start writing songs, and you have a certain direction, because you know all those legendary soul albums were recorded there, and so with that in mind, you start writing in a different kind of way. So you know, that's funny that the kind of studio where you record also influences the songs that you write. So it's back to basic, but also, you know, even more soul, and so that's Muscle Shoals.
And how and where did the opportunity to go to Fame Studios and Muscle Shoals, how did that happen? Was that a conscious decision by yourselves, or just did an opportunity pop up?
Well, it was a conscious decision. After we had different plans for this record. We wanted to record with Chris Robinson from Black Crowes, because we were touring with them in 2023, I believe. And he was really eager to produce an album for us. But, you know, along the way, we tried to find a date or a period where we could do this. And it didn't really work out, because when he had time, we were touring. And when we had time, he was touring. So, we had to come up with a different idea. And then we were like, why don't we just pick a studio we all love, and why don't we just try? You know, we sat down and wrote an email, because we had no idea if they would accept us, because you know, Muscle Shoals Sound is kind of it's a funny thing, because it's kind of more of a museum than a recording studio at this point.
Okay.
And they're doing like these tourist tours. Kind of funny. And we didn't even know if it was possible to record there. But pretty soon we got a response, and they were like, "Yeah, we know you." They thought we were from Denmark, but that's okay.
Happens all the time, I'm sure.
Yeah. So they knew us, and they were happy to welcome us there. And then we were like, we hooked up with a producer, Ben Tanner. He's a local from that area, and he said, "Well, there is another studio you probably know. It's called Fame Studios, and he had a lot of experience working there. So he kind of suggested we should also go there." And we couldn't like really choose between the two, so we decided to record in both of them.
Yeah. And I'm sure it must have felt like a very special experience for you, obviously, with the history of the place.
Absolutely, because you know, the more and more we started diving. I mean, we already knew a lot of records that were recorded there, but knowing that we were going there, we started, you know, digging in the history, and started watching the documentary again and again. And then you discover more and more albums that were recorded there, and we were like, "Oh my God, this is crazy."
Yeah.
You know, from the famous stuff to Leon Russell, like rare stuff, like really unknown stuff like Cowboy and stuff like that. So Eddie Hinton, you know. So the more and more we started diving into that, we discovered more albums that were recorded there, and it was crazy for us. Like, and this place is within reach. I mean, we can actually go there and record, and that's a dream. I mean, it was a dream for us to go there and do something.
And the actual logistics then for you guys, I know obviously being a trio, it might maybe a little easier, but how did you manage that then, obviously traveling to the States to record? Did you just take a couple of instruments with you, or did everything get hired or supplied over there?
Well, we wanted to travel light, because it's always like kind of, when you go into the States and you arrive at the customs, they started asking difficult questions, and it was kind of a gray area, like, were we actually working in the States? Were we spending money there? And the latter is true. But so we were kind of like, okay, and let's not bring too many instruments, and see if we can use some stuff from the studio. But we also already knew that Ben, the producer, has his own studio in the area, and he had a ton of vintage, beautiful gear. And he was like, "We can go to my studio on the first day, pick whatever you want, and then we take that to Fame and Muscle Shoals Sound." So we did just that, and I recorded on a kit on Ben's kit, which was a beautiful '60s Ludwig, and I did bring some cymbals with me because that's such a personal thing. So yeah, and Paolo had like one guitar or something, and I believe Robin didn't bring anything because you just want to travel light and don't wake the sleeping dogs.
Yeah, I know. Must be so hard to navigate. Got to be tough, especially coming from Europe, And your approach on Love and Death was a very analog and very sort of analog studio, etc. Was that the same then with Muscle Shoals? Did you try and keep everything? Did you record live, for example, and just same sort of approach?
Yeah, we always want to record live. That's really our thing, and we've been doing that since the very beginning. So we don't even know how it works if you don't record live.
Yeah.
I would have to use a click track, and I'm not used to that. So that would be the first problem. But yeah, we did it live and recorded to tape. That's also something we did from the very beginning. But on Love and Death, we approached the whole process in an analog way. So we all also mixed analog, and we mixed that to like a stereo tape, a mixtape, and then that went to the master tape, and there was no computer involved. But it also that caused for some troubles actually, and because you're working with just tape, and the chances that you fuck up something is pretty big, actually. So yeah, a couple of times we fucked up, and then we kind of learned from that. Okay, is it really so important to do every step analog? No. So we decided for Muscle Shoals to switch to digital once the basic tracks were done. So we had drums, bass, guitar, and Hammond on tape, and then we transferred that into the computer and went on from that.
Yeah.
We also on Love Dead and In Between, we did all the vocals live during the take, and that was also, looking in hindsight, it was a pain in the ass because a take could be awesome musically, but then you would fuck up with your vocals, with your voice, and then you can just scrap that whole take.
Yeah.
So we're kind of done with that. So we decided also to do the vocals as overdub. It's just, the idea can be cool, but eventually, if the end product isn't as cool as it could have been, then it's a stupid idea, I think.
It's a tough one because obviously I can understand where you're coming from, but as you know yourself, my God, man, everybody's listening to things on iPhones and cheap £10 headphones, and somebody could be listening to it on a £2,000-3,000 stereo, but everything gets jumbled up into all types of listening devices, and you've spent half a year dedicating your life to this record, producing this perfect sound, but some idiot's listening to it on a £10 Bluetooth speaker in his office,
Yeah, absolutely. And he wouldn't hear the difference if it was mastered analog or not.
Yeah, exactly.
The difference.
So tell me a little bit about obviously the upcoming tour. Tell me about your live performances. And does improvisation come in a lot for you guys when you're playing? Because obviously, if you guys are so ethereal in your approach, Is a lot of improv, or are you pretty sort of rigid in how you approach the songs?
No, there is actually a lot of improvisation during the show, but it depends on the song. I mean, we have we're always surprised when we come off stage and it appeared that we played like 30 or 40 minutes longer than we had planned.
All right.
You make a set list and you try to time that correctly, and you take the timings from the album or some kind of live recording that we've done before. But it's always different, and it's always like a 10-minute song turns out to be 15 minutes, and the 17-minute song turns out to be 25 minutes long. So there's always a lot of like we really can really stretch solo parts, and the solos are of course always improvised. But it depends on the song. I mean, we have plenty of short songs that just work best as they are.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that we always try to, after the recording has been finished, we always try to find an even better live version for the song. So a song isn't done when it's recorded, it's just developing with every show. And then at one point, I mean, maybe sometimes we've played a song like 100 times, and then suddenly someone says, we should do this part differently. And then sometimes that happens during the show. Sometimes we discuss changes, but sometimes not, and things just happen. And yeah, that's the cool thing about improvisation. And we don't want to like give the people like replicate the album or something, because you can listen to the album and a live show is something different. And yeah, so we've always seen that as two different things. Like a live show is where you can add that extra dimension.
Yeah, and I suppose your approach in the studio obviously really helps then your live show come to life, because you guys really just live for the live performance. So it gives you the flexibility and the like sort of flexing your muscles musically, really, whenever you get the opportunity to.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's also when the 17 years of playing together comes in handy.
Yeah.
I mean,
you guys really know each other very well, I'm sure, musically.
yeah. Sometimes a nod or a glance is enough to give a cue or something, and that's awesome. And we're just with the three of us. I mean, in the Netherlands, we sometimes play with an XL formation with backing singers and a bass guitar player, sometimes a percussion player and horns, like the Love Then and In Between setup. But in the UK, we've only done like trio shows, and it feels, yeah, it feels like you put on some really nice and light sneakers. You're like fast as lightning. Yeah, how do you said it before? Like an lighter outfit or tighter
tighter outfit. Yeah, I'm sure, because obviously when you're doing those shows as an XL band and then you go back to being the trio, it must feel great as well, because it's what you know.
Yeah, and we also kind of see that when we're with the three of us, the improvisation goes easier. And it's always it's just a thing when you play for so many years together. Yeah, you what I said, a glance is enough. And sometimes when you play with a bass guitar player, you feel like, oh yeah, there's someone else on stage. Got a cue. Shit, missed it.
And what about you've shared the stage with some really cool artists, like you talked about, likes of Black Crows and Toto and stuff like that there. When you come away from those types of shows, when performing with those guys, what sort of like lessons or experiences do you pick up?
Well, yeah, it's always different. During the Black Crows tour, we really, I think we got a lot more professional as a band and crew, because they want you to be they want you to be kind of invisible as a support act. So you try to do everything as quick as you can, and try to be streamlined. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
as you can. And so it really got a lot more professional on those tours because they need you to be professional. And but it's so inspiring to be at all those shows and see your heroes play. I mean, the Black Crows have been our heroes since we were young teenagers, and to see them perform was amazing. And to see them perform every night for 2 or 3 weeks was, I mean, you learn a lot from that because
yeah.
are a touring machine, and they really kicked ass every night, and so that really inspires. And the same with Toto. I have to say that I wasn't really a Toto fan until we got on that tour, and now when I hear a Toto song, it's like really brings me back to that tour. And I mean, it was in summer, and we did all these open air
Mm.
uh, stadiums or something, and it was such a cool vibe. But two totally different vibes between the Toto tour and the Black
Oh yeah,
Crows
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
tour. Their crew was a lot bigger, and they toured with like how do you call it? We call it nightliners in the Netherlands,
Oh
but
yeah,
you call it like
tour buses.
tour bus.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they had a lot of trucks with all their gear. It was crazy to see how a production like that works.
yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. Because someday you may need it yourself. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
Um,
know.
and tell me a little bit about your sound. Like, your sound is it's quite unique to me. It's not what I would listen to every day of the week. So whenever I hear an album and I hear a band like yourselves, it's just like it's a really big contrast. Where did your inspiration and influences come from? Like, have you guys always had that vibe, that sort of classic, sort of soul R&B vibe from the early get go?
Well, I think that soul and R&B influences came a little bit later. Uh, um, you know, I started listening to. I was 13 or 14 years old, and I got a CD from my parents, which was a collection of soul songs, Southern soul songs, and most of them were recorded at Fame Studios. And so I started listening to that music when I was 13 or 14, and then by then we had already started this band. But that influences have never really come through until like 6, 7 years ago when we were like, that's a thing we really love. That's soul and R&B. Why don't we, try write songs in that style? I mean, we can try, and we always think it's really important to to do what you listen to. I mean, it would be strange if we would just make like psychedelic rock records, but at home we just listen to old soul and that kind of stuff. So it feels good to be able to put that in our music as well. I don't know if I explain correctly, but it always takes some time, you know. And also when we started listening to Southern rock, when we kind of discovered that was through also how do you call it, like a collection of songs on an album. It's called a compilation album.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was called Delta Swamp Rock, and we kind of just found it at a record store, and it looked interesting, and it had songs on it by the Allman Brothers, which we knew when we were like 13, 14 years old. But there was also Leon Russell on there, and Cowboy was on there, and Boss Skaggs, and yeah, we really dig that kind of music, and we started listening to that, and for a certain point, that was the only music that we listened to. But it took like 2, 3 years maybe until we also started taking influences from that and started putting that in our own music. So yeah, I hope that kind of explains.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so you touched on you've been going like 17 years now. You have 10 studio albums. What is the motivation at this stage? What keeps you going, and how do you keep those creative juices flowing?
Um, well, like knowing that what I just said is possible. So, like, if someone discovers some kind of cool jazz record, for instance, like we would be totally open to try and write a song, maybe in that with influences from that, and then we see if it works or not. If it doesn't work, it won't be on the album. But like knowing that that is possible is really gives a lot of freedom. And also we're kind of used to going back into our studio to write new songs every year, maybe 1.5 year, and it's like a cyclist that feels good. And uh, like it works best for us if we just sit down with a cup of coffee and start working on something new. Like we don't have to wait on inspiration or something like that, because that for us that then it could take forever to write something. For us, it works just best to sit down and start working.
Yeah.
Uh,
Some
oh
people
yeah,
have different approaches to music, and obviously they'll have a touring cycle for an album, for example. But do you guys then at some stage get sick of the touring life and decide it's time to sit down and get into a studio to sort of maybe reset yourselves again?
yeah. Who knows? I think we never will be. I think we're never get really tired of touring, because the balance is something that works really well for us.
Hmm.
Like, it couldn't be just a recording band or just a touring band.
Yeah.
It feels good to do both. And but kind of, I think for the next record, it would be cool if we could give ourselves some more time, because time between Love That and In Between and Muscle Shoals, that was a pretty short time for us, because we toured Love That pretty intensively, and then we were still in the middle of a tour, and then we already started writing for Muscle Shoals, and that was kind of yeah, that it was kind of tough for us actually. So
Hmm.
we're maybe stretching the touring period of Muscle Shoals a little bit longer, and then start writing new stuff maybe late next year or something.
Yeah, yeah. And your last album was your first number one. So has that changed the trajectory of the band at all? Are you feeling more confident after the back of that you're able to sort of express yourselves more and do what you want musically?
No, I don't think we need this number one figure for that. I think mm, like every show for us, it's like we try to play the best show we can and try to kind of prove ourselves. And I think that causes that the shows are always a certain quality, because you'll never find us slacking or like thinking, this is an unimportant show, I'm not gonna do my best. We try to do our very best every show, and yeah, and same goes for for a new record that we're making. We just try to write the best songs we can, and if we like it, it's good. Like we
Yeah.
don't. I think that works best for us. Like not listen too much to your audience or to your fans, but just try to listen to yourself. And if you feel confident and happy about a song, then that's great. And hopefully there are more people who like it.
Yeah.
Uh, there are more people, more and more every time, people that like us.
And speaking of then, so the UK tour is just around the corner. Out of curiosity, have you any special plans? Have you got set list wise, for example? Have you curated anything unique for the UK audience?
Not yet. We'll see.
Lastminute.com.
Yeah, yeah. Or on stage during the first show.
Yeah.
And
Just wing it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, it's like also works pretty well for us to just hop on stage and play. And every once in a while we try to rehearse, but we don't want to do that too often, because I mean we play many shows, so
Yeah.
sometimes you can just kill a song by playing it too many times,
Yeah.
and yeah, winging it feels good for us.
Good, good. Well, look, we're looking forward to you arriving in the UK. I know you kick off in Glasgow, I think, on the 12th. We're going to be covering you in Bristol, so we're looking forward to catching the show live. And I'm sure the UK audience is ready for DeWolff to be back in the UK again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we can't wait to go there. And well, thank you for this interview.
Absolute pleasure. Absolutely. You have to get yourself across to Ireland and play a show here. And I know you guys played in the Rory Gallagher, didn't you? Done the Gallagher Festival a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get you either in Dublin or Belfast for a show. And
Yeah. I would love to go there. Yeah.
cool, cool. Hopefully we'll see you on the road sometime soon. So look, Luka, thanks again, man. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
You too. No problem. Pleasure. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.